guys, my name is Brie and I'm going to be doing a video all about my palettes. This video was originally created by Allie Glines and Samantha March, but I actually saw Jessica Braun do it and she was the one that inspired me to do it. I will link everyone's channel down below, so if you're interested in hearing about my palettes, then just keep on watching. So basically what this video is it's going to be just a bunch of categories that I'm going to say whichever palette of mine falls into each category. I have a lot of palettes. Not every palette that I have is going to make it into this video. If you guys are interested in seeing my whole palette collection, then just let me know. Also, if you guys are interested in seeing this video with like other products like blushes and highlighters and stuff, let me know as well. So, first category is going to be the newest palette. And I actually just filmed a video with this palette. That is what is on my eyes right now. It is going to be the Morphe 24A Artist palette. This palette's super pretty. It's a bunch of neons and glitters. It's definitely like a little festival palette. I don't have a fully formed opinion about this palette because I've only used it about 1.5 times. If by the time that this video goes up I have a better opinion, I will leave it down below in the description box as well. But it's pretty, it's nice. Do I think it's the best neon palette out there? No. My oldest palette, and let me preface this by saying this palette is beat up. And it is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. She is used. She has seen some things. I love this palette. I think this palette should be a staple in anyone's collection who loves warm tones. It's definitely a staple in mine. I definitely foresee myself buying a new one because like I need to. It's getting to that point. Probably expired. Still works really well though. I just did a look with it just the other day. Next category is going to be the most expensive palette. This palette is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina Pro Palette Volume 1. I adore this palette. I am obsessed with this palette. I'm going to hold it upside down so I don't blind you with the mirror. The mattes in this palette are so incredibly creamy. This palette is worth every single dollar that it costs. I can't say more good things about this palette. Next category is going to be my least expensive palette, and that is going to be the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. This palette is super cute, super fun. I love the colors. I have an obsession with warm tones if you can't tell, but the glitters in this are awesome. The mattes are gorgeous. I love that they started including Super Shock shadows into their palettes as well. This palette's super cute, super affordable. The next category is going to be the everyday palette category, and Jessica Braun kind of said the same thing in her video, that she wasn't sure if she should make it her everyday palette or kind of just like a general everyday palette. And I agreed with that. Didn't really know. Like, I wear a lot of color. I wear different looks pretty much every single day. I try to filter through my palettes as much as possible to get as much use out of them as I possibly can. So I kind of went with the general everyday palette. The original Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. She's also seen a lot. Let me hold that the right way. I just think that this palette has a lot to offer and would be a great everyday palette for most makeup wearers. It's got all of your neutrals. It's got some fun pops of color, lots of shimmers, lots of mattes, darks, lights. I think this palette has everything. And it's a really good formula. This is the old version. I haven't tried the new version that supposedly changed, so I can't speak to that one at all. But I do think that this palette specifically is awesome. This category is going to be my most colorful palette. And again, I wear a lot of color, so I actually had a really hard time with this one because like the Norvina Volume 1 palette, super colorful. I have a lot of really colorful palettes. So I actually went and I chose the palette that I have that has absolutely no neutrals in it whatsoever. And that is going to be the Morphe Pride palette. This came out last year. Super awesome release that they did right around, I want to say June. So this palette's about a year old. And either a portion of the proceeds or all of the proceeds went to the Trevor Project, which is an awesome foundation that helps out a lot of people. This palette's super cute. Do I use it all that often? No. Is it the best rainbow palette that I own? No. But I think it has a lot to offer, and I think that it would be great for a beginner that's looking to get into colors and rainbow shades specifically. This shimmer is super, super pretty. It's kind of like a duochrome, greeny blue. It's really, really thin though, and really sheer and doesn't really pack a punch. I'm not even sure if this palette's still available. I will look it up, and if it is, I'll link it down below along with all of the other palettes. But it's cute, and it's definitely my most colorful palette. Category is going to be my smallest palette, and that is once again going to be the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. So I don't really need to go too much more into that, but I do love how small and cute it is, and it's great for travel. My biggest palette is going to be the Morphe James Charles palette. It's a big boy, 39 shades. It's gonna cover the whole screen. It's a great palette. Out of all of the rainbow Morphe palettes that I have now gone through in this, I think that this one is my personal favorite. I like the formula of this one more than the Pride palette. I just think that this palette is gorgeous. I love that it has your range of neutrals so that you can do anything with this palette. So the next category is going to be the category for the palette that I have the best memory with. And that is actually going to be the ColourPop Dream Street palette, which I will pop up right here. And then the ColourPop Yes Please palette, which I will pop up right here. The reason why I'm doing that is because I actually depotted a lot of my ColourPop 9-pan or 12-pan palette, excuse me, into this Z palette. I kind of regret doing that now, especially once Kathleen announced that Dream Street wasn't coming back. I got super nostalgic, and I was super sad that I don't have the actual packaging anymore. But all of the shades are in here, along with all the shades for Yes Please and all of the shades for a couple other palettes. But those two palettes specifically, Yes Please and Dream Street, I have the best memory with, and the reason being is because I wore those shadows on my wedding day. And that was the best day of my life, and I love getting to look back at my photos and getting to see everything. And I'm kind of sad that I don't have the packaging anymore, so I can't look back at the packaging and just be like, years from now, just be like, that's the palette that I wore on my wedding day. But I have all the shades right here. I still use them all the time. There's a lot of discontinued palettes in here as well. This category is going to be the palette that I believe is definitely worth the hype. And that for me is going to be the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. This palette is literally just a collection of my absolute favorite shades. I love pinks, I love oranges, I love reds, I love purples. It's just, if I could be buried in a palette, it would be this one. The black is absolutely amazing. All of these shades are absolutely amazing. There's some really, really beautiful duochromes in this palette. The next category is going to be the palette that I think is not worth the hype. And actually just recently, probably at the beginning of April, did a huge declutter of a lot of my makeup, got rid of stuff that just wasn't inspiring me. I have a big box of palettes that, or just makeup in general, that I'm planning to donate, whether I'm going to give it to my friends or eventually send it to Project Beauty Share. But otherwise, I don't have a palette that I don't think isn't worth the hype right now because I've gotten rid of all of them, or I am getting rid of all of them. Next category is going to be my favorite palette. ColourPop Truly Madly Deeply. I clearly have an obsession with ColourPop. This palette is gorgeous. I absolutely adore this palette. I think that the glitters in this palette, especially Indio and Hungry Ghost, are to die for. This palette is stunning though. This shimmer right here, the shade Mr. Sandman, is so, so, so pretty, just all over the lid. You can do so many looks with this palette. It's cool tone, it's warm tone, it's got everything, and it's a great price. Next category is going to be my most used palette. Do I even really need to say anything? You guys saw the inside of this palette. My Modern Renaissance is my most used palette. I still regularly use it. I absolutely love it. I've already talked about it, so I don't need to talk anymore about it. The next two categories are actually going to be categories that Jessica Braun added to her video, and so I'm going to do them as well. The next category is going to be the palette that I think is the most underrated. I couldn't pick, so I picked three. And the first two of those three are going to be the BH Cosmetics Zodiac palettes. I think that these palettes are absolutely stunning. This is the Zodiac Love Signs palette. It doesn't look super exciting, but the mattes are so soft, so blendable. They are amazing. And all of these baked shimmers around the outside and then the one in the middle are like putting actual aluminum foil on your eyes. They are so shiny, so full coverage. You can use them wet, you can use them dry. And the other one is the regular BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. Same concept, same idea, just different colors. Same formula as well. Love it just as much as the other one. And then my other palette that I think is the most underrated palette would be the ColourPop and Kathleen Lights So Jaded palette. I'm obsessed with this palette. This palette, it just has everything for me. It has colors, it has neutrals, it's got those deep jewel tones. I am obsessed with this palette. I think that everyone should own this palette. I think that everyone would love this palette. And I really hope they never get rid of this palette. But this palette is, oh my god. I know that it's been out for a while, but why aren't more people still talking about how good this palette is? It's amazing. Okay, and then the very last category is going to be a palette that I love but is limited edition. And once again, I picked two palettes that I absolutely love but are limited edition. The first one is going to be the ColourPop Chasing Rainbows palette. It is beautiful. It's so buttery, it's so smooth. All of the shadows in this palette are absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to talk too much more hype about it because it doesn't exist anymore, but it's a great palette. The second palette in the category of palettes that I love but are limited edition is going to be the Tarte Clay Play Volume 1 palette. The Clay Play Volume 2 palette does still exist. I don't own it. I've never tried it. I do absolutely adore this palette though. This palette is gorgeous. It is all mattes, all neutrals, great for on the go. You know, you got your contour shade, your bronzer shade, all your shades. You have everything in this palette. Your under eye brightening shade, depending on your skin tone. This palette has everything. This palette also smells like chocolate, and I love it. I don't know why they would take this palette away because it's so good. Like I said, I haven't tried the second one, but the second one has like a blush and some shimmer shades in it. This one I feel like is more universally usable than the other one. And it's just such a staple. I've used Tarte shadows in the past and I didn't love them. This one, something about the formula of this one specifically feels different. It blends smoother, it's softer. Maybe it's the chocolate smell. Alright guys, so that's going to be my palette collection. If you guys are interested in seeing this style of video with other categories, let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. What is your guys' favorite palette? What is your most used palette? Answer all these questions in the comments down below. I would love to hear your answers. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Please like this video if you liked it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!